The dua is like a bow and arrow. The more you stretch the bow, the further the arrow is going to reach and penetrate. Isn't that right? If you make your dua sincerely from the depth of your heart, meaning it and believing that Allah will respond. There are some people when they make dua, sometimes you really mean it. I can't explain it, but sometimes you feel like your heart's pounding heavily and you really need Allah. You're really asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in the middle of the night when you wake up by yourself, voluntarily. I mean, why would you wake up in the middle of the night just to make dua? Unless you really mean it. Who's going to get out? Who's going to get out of their blanket from the warmth and cuddliness of the bed and make wudu and wake yourself up and ask Allah in the middle of the night at 2-3 o'clock in the morning? Unless you really mean your dua. The more you mean it, the further your dua is going to reach. And so here the Prophet ﷺ says now, he says, the qadar will be coming down from the skies, from the heavens. Qadar is what's going to happen to you. For example, you're going to get sick. The qadar comes down, that you're going to get sick. Your dua goes up. It's in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Your dua goes up. And it meets the qadar halfway between the heavens and the earth. If the dua is stronger than the qadar, it fights it off. And there is no qadar, bad qadar there. If the dua is equal with the qadar, then the Prophet ﷺ says, يَتَصَارَعَانِ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. They will wrestle until the last hour. And the qadar will not come to you, nor will the dua fight it away. And if the dua is weak, the qadar will reach you, but weaker than it was before. So if you are going to be afflicted with a bad illness, it will rather be halved and you will get a simple sickness, such as a flu, for example, instead of a major virus, instead of cancer, for example. This is why the Prophet ﷺ used to say in the dua, Allahumma hdina fi man hadayt, wa afina fi man afayt, wa tawallana fi man tawallayt, wa barik lana fi man a'tayt, wasrif waqina wasrif anna sharra ma qadayt. He says, oh Allah, guide us to the right path, and so on, until he reaches the point where he says, and prevent the bad things of which you have preordained upon us. So the dua has to be against the preordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are one of the ways that harm is prevented from you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sorry, this is the only way that the qadar is returned. There is of course one more way which I forgot to tell you, and it's similar to the dua, and that is the sadaqah. As-sadaqah taqi masari as-su'. When you give sadaqah, it also prevents bad misfits from happening. So there's a second one as well. Brothers and sisters in Islam, when a person makes dua, you're not allowed to make partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your dua. Some Muslims, they think that they are making dua properly, but they are in fact making shirk in their dua, and this is one of the reasons why your dua is not accepted. For example, some people in their dua, they call upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How? They say, oh Allah, I ask you through your messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or they say, oh Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, oh Muhammad, in your love I ask Allah. Oh Muhammad, through your love ask Allah for me. This is all called intercession. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has died sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he cannot benefit anymore. This is haram. This is haram intercession. If the Prophet ﷺ was alive, yes, you can ask him to make dua for you and it is alright. But the Prophet ﷺ can no longer benefit. And if you ask Allah through the Prophet ﷺ like that, you are making a haram intercession. You can say, oh Allah, if you know that I love your messenger, or if you know that I have followed your messenger, then respond to me. You're allowed to ask like that, because you are still asking Allah alone. But you're not saying, oh Allah, through your messenger. Some people when they make dua, they mention their shaykh's name in their dua. Oh my Lord, in the love of CD so-and-so, my shaykh so-and-so. This is also intercession. It's haram. What's the difference between that and a person who goes to the priest? So we have to ask Allah mukhliseen, sincere only to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wallahi brothers and sisters, every time I talk about this subject, I remember all the supplications I made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I was younger and when I was old. Every one of them got responded to, whether early or later. But wallah, I even asked superficial things and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did respond to them. This type of a dua, it gives a person a higher iman, and it makes you feel the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Lastly, I would like to talk about the dua of fear and the dua of when you are really in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah responds to you, especially when you are in need. And I'd mention here 6 or 7 ways or 7 times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to your dua and it will never be rejected. Number 1, immediately after the salat al-fard, immediately after the compulsory prayers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to the dua. The only difference is that the Prophet ﷺ did not lift his arms up after the fard salah, but he used to make dua after the prayers. The fard salah, Allah responds. Number 2, in the last third of the night, في الثلث الأخير من الليل, the last third of the night before Fajr, Allah responds. In the hadith it says Allah descends to the first sky and He calls out specially, who is there asking me so I may respond to him? Who is there supplicating to me so I may respond to his call? Number 3, the dua of the oppressed. If you are oppressed by someone, mazloom, then the dua al-mazloom, the dua of the oppressed is accepted. Someone wronged you and they did a dua against you. Someone wronged you and you did it. If you wronged someone and they did a dua against you, you're in big trouble. There is an hour during a Friday in which the dua is also accepted. We don't know which hour it is, but there is an hour during the Friday which the Jumu'ah, when your dua is also accepted according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The dua of a person who is afraid, fear, the dua of fear, when you're afraid of something, you make dua, Allah responds. And the dua of the needy, when you are extremely in need, Allah responds to your dua. And the dua of the traveler who is on a travel, his dua or her dua is also accepted. This is something specific in the dua. Otherwise, generally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts every dua, but these ones in specific, you've got to be careful. There is also a time, an hour during the day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also responds to your dua. We don't know which one that is. It's according to the Prophet ﷺ's hadith where he says, do not make dua against yourself in bad, nor make a dua against your money, nor make a dua against your family or your children, lest you may fall into a time in the day where Allah is responding to the du'as and He will respond to that dua. There is a story about a mother. She made a dua against her son because he gave her a hard time. Especially the mothers. Especially the Arab mothers, because they make a lot of dua against their children. And I come from an Arabic background. Whenever they get angry at their children, they make the worst du'as you've ever heard of. I can't even say them here in front of you. They don't mean it, but they say it. For example, may Allah curse you. May Allah open the ground and swallow you. Things like that. May Allah split you into pieces. This particular mother got so angry at her son that she said to him, I ask Allah that a car runs you over and a man comes in the door, knocks on the door and holds you in his arms with all your bones broken. Yes, I heard of this story. And wallah, exactly that happened. A man knocked on her door, your son got run over. You may ask a dua in an hour which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually responding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and man always hastens in their dua to make dua in bad, intending good. And man is very, very quick. Don't make bad du'as. The dua of the needy. And I ended here with a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ telling us a story of one of his companions. I forgot his name, but he's one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. He says, I was a merchant who used to go through one city to the other as a tradesman. And I used to pass through this valley. One day I passed through the valley holding my merchandise on top of my camel, when suddenly a thief stops me in the middle of the valley, alone, there's no one around me. He puts the sword to my neck and he says, I am going to kill you and take your merchandise. The companion said to him, please take everything, but spare my life. And the thief said to him, no, I'm going to take your merchandise and I'm going to kill you. When the companion found that the thief was insisting on killing him, he said to him, okay, you can kill me and take my merchandise, but please allow me to do one thing. And then after that you can kill me. He said, do whatever you like, but then I'm going to wait for you and kill you. He said, allow me to pray 2 rak'ah. Subhanallah. The thief made a mistake by letting him pray 2 rak'ah. So he prayed the 2 rak'ah. He prayed the first rak'ah and then he prayed the second rak'ah. And in his sujood, because the Prophet ﷺ says, you are the closest to Allah when you are in your prostration, in your sujood. So ask Allah for the things you want in your sujood. In his sujood, he said a long dua. I'm not going to say the whole dua for you, but I'll say parts of it. It's in 3 sections. And he said, Allahumma inni as'aluka binuri wajhika alladhi mala'ta bihi arkana arshik. I ask you, O Allah, by the nur, by the light of your face which has filled the pillars of your throne. And then he began to ask him by all his names, and by his wonderful character, by his wonderful attributes. And finally he said, O the one who responds to the dua of the one in need, Ya mujib al-muttarri idha da'an. O the one who responds to the one who really needs him. He says, save me from this thief. Khalisni min hadha al-lis. Save me from this thief. And then he said 3 times, Ya mughithu aghithni, Ya mughithu aghithni, Ya mughithu aghithni. Oh the one who saves, save me. Oh the one who saves, save me. Oh the one who saves, save me. He said he did not complete his dua. Then all of a sudden he is the galloping of a horse racing so quickly and so fast. On the top of that horse was a man, a warrior, and he had covered his face with a sword in his right arm. The thief looked at him before he could do anything. Whack! He chopped and slit his throat, and the thief died. The companion looked up and he hugged him and kissed him and he said to him, Barakallahu feek, may Allah bless you. Where are you from and where did you come from? How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send you to me? He said, I am a malak, I am an angel, min as-sama' al-rabi'a, from the 4th sky. Da'awta bi du'a'ika al-awwal. You asked Allah in the first part of your dua, and we heard you. Then you asked with the second part of your dua, and the sky shook. Then you asked in the third part of your dua, and we raced to Allah. So I raced and beat the other angels to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, Ya Rabb, send me to save him. And so Allah allowed me.
I know I'm waiting for something to happen to me. But this waiting comes with trials and challenges. Nothing in life is free. I wish that somehow that on that day I'll be okay. But we'll never know, 'cause that's not the way it